everyone, this is Brittnee Bond, and welcome back to the podcast. Today I am reporting live from my very good friend Sasha's living room. As you can see, he has an abundance of plants. He is a plant daddy, and I'm reporting live from the Bay Area, which is like around San Francisco, California, and it's very close to where I grew up. So this episode is going to be about how it is coming home to where I grew up and my own inner exploration of, like there's just so much that you face. There's like, you can go out in the world and become whoever you want to be. And then when you come home, you're going to be faced with all of the things that you grew up with, all of the programming. And what I realized is that because I grew up feeling so much like an alien, like I just feel like I didn't fit in with my family, the culture, the religion I grew up in. It was more comfortable for me to be a foreigner in a foreign country where people didn't speak English, they didn't know my culture, because then it didn't matter if I was an alien or not. People actually expected that of me. And yet there was a very strong soul calling for me to come back home. And if you've ever felt this homecoming after being gone for a long time, for me, I haven't lived here for an extended period of time in 10 years. And last year I came, like you'll understand this feeling, because last year I came back for Burning Man. I was here for 2 months in America. And most of the time I wasn't staying in the same place more than 2 days. So I really didn't allow myself to settle in, mostly because I was on a trip to see all of my family. But also because I think there was a part of me that didn't want to feel integrated here. I wasn't ready to face a lot of the stuff that I am now facing. And one thing that I talk about a lot with my friend Sasha here, who's over on the computer looking at cat videos, is that there is just so much interesting culture that we are dealing with right now collectively from the masculine and feminine perspectives. And when I'm in a different country like Germany or Thailand, a lot of this doesn't really hit as close to home as when I'm here in the States, because I grew up here. And the major thing that I've been experiencing is how much women are very much operating in their masculine energy here. So this is something I want to talk about in this episode, because I think that all of us have masculine and feminine energies in each of us, no matter what body you choose to be born into or which orientation that you choose to embody in this lifetime. And yet, if you are a woman who is born as a woman and you choose to operate in your feminine energy, it's very, it's very shocking for me, at least, to come here and to be around so many women who are operating in their masculine energy. And what does that mean? What does that even mean? So I'll give you an example. I was hanging out with a girlfriend the other day, and she's talking immediately. I get in the car with her, and she's just talking about what is she doing with her job? Where is she going? Like all of this. And the conversation wasn't she didn't even give me a hug when I got in the car. There wasn't any hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling in your body? The feelings wasn't there. And of course, men can also create this feeling energy, but it's very masculine to be where are we going? What are we doing? This, a very creating the container, operating from that frequency. And for me, I have come from that. So, my background is in law, and I spent a lot of my years earlier on working in business and being a business consultant, running co-working spaces, helping with entrepreneurship around the world. And I'm very grateful for that time. I think there is a huge intellectual part of me that really loves building things, but it's the energy that I was operating in that didn't really necessarily feel yummy in my body. And I have spent a lot of time and a lot of internal exploration to come to the the baseline energy frequency of me operating in my feminine energy. And for me, this feels really good in my body. Like I'm like, like I wake up, I do my yoga, my meditation, my journaling. I feel a lot. I tune into my body. I choose which frequency I want to operate in that day. And it's very like body orientated and like feelings orientated. And of course, I was talking about my last podcast with Emilio that I love getting stuff done. You know, I do have a very strong inner masculine energy that just like really loves to build things and create things in the world. And also the frequency that I have chosen to operate in nowadays is more of my feminine energy. So even when I'm having hour-long business calls, which I have been doing in the last couple of days, I am doing that like while I'm in like a yoga pose or, you know, like doing something where my body is really involved as well, because this helps me to rest more in my feminine frequency. And it feels really good, and everyone else who's involved on the calls can feel this energy, and it just creates this like really yummy vibration. And I still am very clear on what I would like to get done, but I'm not pushing it. I'm not like having that be the forefront. And what I notice with a lot of women here in the Bay Area and San Francisco area is that they're very in their brains. And there's also, I was talking to a lot of friends here, and there's just like this very high like standard of, or like attraction, I guess I'll say, of people who are very mentally stimulated. So if you know like the Bay Area, at San Francisco, it's very into tech. People are building a lot of things on their computers. And I think that attracts in a lot of men who are very in their brains, but also a lot of women who are very in their brains. And what I've learned in my exploration of masculine and feminine energy is that if you're a woman who is going to, let's say, win an argument with a man, and you're operating in your masculine energy and you're trying to like prove a point or get stuff done, you're always going to lose that game with the masculine, because men naturally are more in their masculine energy. This is the energy they were born into. And this is what feels good in their body. And what I notice here is that there's a lot of women who are still like operating in their masculine energy, and they're tired. They don't feel good in their body. And do you know why I know this? It's because I can feel people. Like, this is one of my superpowers, my psychic abilities, whatever you want to call it. And when I'm around them, I start like, I'm like, oh, I need to take a deep breath just thinking about it. Because when I'm around them, I don't feel very good in my body. And I start feeling more tense, like more constricted. And it just becomes like this intellectual like masturbation. That's what it feels like. It's like, who can get off soonest on like the point of what we're trying to say. And I'm like, what about the journey? What about feeling good in your body along the way? So the reflection that I've personally been getting by a lot of the men it's interesting because I've been hanging out with a lot of men since I've been in the States. I have a lot of soul family who happen to live here who are men that I've known from Thailand and Berlin. And also like been going on dates and stuff like this and meeting a lot of beautiful men. And the reflection I've been getting over and over again is, oh, it feels so good to be in your energy. Like, you're so in your feminine. And I know personally that I'm in my feminine energy, and also I usually hang out with a lot of women who are also in their feminine energy. Maybe that's why I don't have that many close women friends here, because the women that I'm finding are not necessarily operating in their feminine energy. So for me, it doesn't necessarily feel good to like rest and relax and unfold around them. But for the men, I'm like this like flowy goddess woman that just like happens to be here. There's Sasha. Sasha, you want to say hi?
Hello. She's not wrong.
Why are you in your Indian accent?
I agree with everything she's saying.
I'm going to have Sasha on the podcast soon. I've been trying to get him on, but he's been traveling for work and, I don't know, being his normal self, fluttering around. But we're going to have him on soon. But yeah, like for a lot of the men that I've experiencing, they're just like, oh, it's just so nice. Like even Sasha the other day, we were in the car and I was like trying to understand this in my psyche. Like, what is going on here? I mean, he warns me about it before I got here. He was like, just so you know, this is how things are in the Bay Area. And I was like, yeah, whatever. What are you talking about? And then after a situation that we were just at, I was like, we got back in the car and I was like, what is going on? Like I just interacted with this woman. She's so in her masculine energy. And then also I found that a lot of men they like being around my energy, but it's almost like they're intimidated. And so I was asking Sasha about this, like, why is that? And he's like, Brittnee, a lot of men are not used to encountering like a real woman. And I was like, what does that? Actually, I want to ask you about that when we're on a podcast together. What does that mean? Sasha, do you want to explain this really fast? What does it mean to be a real woman? Come here. We're going to have a little snippet of Sasha before he runs off to work. What does it mean to be a real woman? Why do you think men are intimidated by that?
What does it mean to be a real woman? Someone who is fully embodied in their feminine power, right? They lead the man, guide them to the direction that they need to go, and empower them to achieve that goal.
I love that. Thank you. When are you going to be on my podcast?
Maybe sometime this week.
This is what I desire. Are you going to help me fulfill all of my desires?
I'm already doing it.
I love you.
Love you too.
I love you.
Mwah. See you soon. I'm going to work.
Okay. Bye. So I think that what Sasha was just saying is like super on point, because I feel like as a woman, I just kind of go around and I was talking to Emilio the other day after we made the podcast. He was like, we were like picking everything up and he was like, let me carry this for you. Let me carry it. You don't need to carry anything. And then he even like picked up my shoes and I was like, Emilio, I really appreciate you getting my shoes, but like I need to wear those right now. And he was like, oh yeah, sorry. And he's just like, there's something about your energy where I just want to like help you. I want to like take care of everything for you. And I was like, I really appreciate that. And I really like, I'm so grateful for you in my life. And at the same time, like for me, this is just like how I normally operate. So it's interesting. I found that culturally being here, it's like a lot similar. Obviously, it's a lot similar to the men that I grew up with. I would say men are more in their divine masculine energy here and like wanting to protect and provide and create a beautiful container for the feminine to unfold. At least these are the men that I have in my life. And a lot of them are confused by the women here because they're like, I just want to take care of them. I just want to like make this beautiful world for them. And the women are like, I can do it myself. Like, I don't need a man. And I think there's a balance here. Like as a woman, I'll speak to this because like Sasha will go on a little rant about this when I have him on the podcast. But I think it's really important that culturally we are able to prove to ourselves that we can take care of ourselves, like our baseline needs, right? Like whatever lifestyle that you choose that is like worthy of you, like whatever your standards are, it's really important that you're able to provide that for yourself first. And so that when you have a man, a divine masculine, I'll say, like someone who is like really showing up in a high frequency, someone who has the best of intentions, like a good man. This is what I call like a good man, you know? When they do step into your world and they're like, let me take some of that off your hands. Like, let me help you. You're like, oh, I can do this myself. And also, thank you. It feels so nice to have you help me with this because it creates more of this like yummy energy. This plant, he's like wants to get in on this. It creates more of this yummy energy to go through my body, and that energy feels really good for a man to receive. So I do think I was just watching like I don't know if you guys follow like Wizard Liz. She's a YouTuber, and I was watching one of her videos the other day where she's like, I love money. Like money is really important. And I was like, and like people were like bashing her for this. And she's like, why is it that men are allowed to talk about business all the time? They're allowed to talk about how much they make. And it's like a thing that motivates other men around them because they're like, wow, that's so cool. Like, let's learn from each other. Let's keep building. The hair just wanted to come down. So this is where we're at. So anyways, Wizard Liz was like, why is it that men are encouraged to talk about, the money they're making, and like they use this as like a motivation for each other, but like us women, whenever we talk about how much we love money, it's like villainized. And she's just like, I don't get this. Like, what the heck's going on? And there is a point to this that I actually agree with. I personally am very open about how much money I make to my girlfriends. I talk about like the number. I love crunching numbers. I love I love building things. Like for me, it's like Legos, I'm just like, let's see how much we can do this. We can do this, we can do this. And also for me, it's heart centered, it also is the impact. But I really believe that when you're in your authenticity, and you're following your highest excitement and you're following your joy, you can make a ton of money by helping the world and following your joy. Like those two things are not competing against each other. They are collaborating with each other. And so I really believe that women, we should be able to be self-sufficient for the lifestyles that we choose to have in this timeline, this lifetime. And also at the same time, it's really beautiful to be like, oh, I want to unfold. I want to have a man in my life who wants to support me and take care of me and make all of my dreams come true. Not in a Disneyland fairy tale sense. I'm not talking about like throwing everything away and like never doing the things that you're meant to. Like every single one of us has a soul mission. Every single one of us has something that we're meant to give to the world. I mean, that could be having children if that's something that is your highest excitement, if that's something you want to focus on. I know personally that I want to have kids, and I will have kids in this lifetime. It is not my main priority. And so for me, one of my main priorities is building community, building this new earth community that I am expanding into around the world. Like a lot of my friends are like, Brittnee, what the heck are you doing in the States? Like we know how much trauma that place has for you, and also how amazing my life is in Thailand and Berlin. And like, I'm usually like the one traveling around the world, and people, I'm kind of like, catch me if you can, I'll be over here, like, bye. And so for me to put down roots here, which I am in the middle of doing, I think I will have most of my base be in LA, but the energy is really palatable and building here in San Francisco, and I have such a huge community here that I'm like, okay, the energy is flowing, I'm passionate about it, and I'm going to do my first play party here October 25th. So if you're in the Bay Area, please reach out to me and sign up. There's an application form. And also my plan, God willing, universe aligned, is to be based in LA, because that's kind of what I saw on my soul mission. Like that's where I'm going to end up. And at the same time, when it comes to this like flowy feminine energy, it feels so good in my body to let the men in my life show up for me. That has been a big lesson for me since leaving the island, because on the island, on Koh Phangan in Thailand, where I normally live, this magical paradise island, I am usually the mama bear of the community. Like I've been there for almost 6 years and been in Thailand for 10 years, and I know everyone. I have my Thai family, I have my bike, I don't have my house anymore. I gave up my house to start traveling, but I have a huge community, and people are usually messaging me asking for help there. They're like, hey, can you help me out? Like I need this, I need that. And so I would say by like default, it's too hot to have my hair down. That's one thing about living in Sasha's house, is it's like living in a greenhouse here. It's so beautiful and also hot. But yeah, so I would say that by default, I end up operating more in my masculine energy in Thailand, just because I'm helping everyone all the time. And since I've left the island, I've been really allowing myself to unfold within the energy of all of the beautiful men that I've known for years and years and years, like my soul family men. And they are so happy to show up for me. It gives them more energy and joy, and they just like really enjoy making my dreams come true, helping me out, like taking care of me. And it feels so healing in my body and so nourishing for me to allow myself to receive this. And this is also something that is such an important growth for all of us. Like I really believe that a huge point of spiritual awakening is coming into what I call full integration. So what does that mean? It's like integration within your masculine and your feminine energy. So a lot of women these days are operating in pure chaos energy. So that's like they have a lot of feminine energy. So there's two different ends of the extreme. I'll explain one first. A lot of women on the island where I live, the Shanti, I call them Shanti women. So they're like the ones that on their profile picture, they have like a drum and they're just like, I'm in my pure feminine energy. But if that pure feminine energy, if it's not directed anywhere, if you're just purely operating in your feminine energy, it ends up being a lot of chaos. It ends up being a lot of like, I have this beautiful energy, but I'm not creating anything in the world. I'm not making enough money to support myself. I'm not doing something that I want to in the world. And of course, I do believe that the most important thing is the beingness. It's all an inside job. It's how much we integrate within ourselves and the inner learnings gets reflected externally. So it's healing our stuff first, healing our negative beliefs, our inner trauma from childhood. And at the same time, there is women that are here out in the States, in America, that I've experienced that are very in their masculine energy. I would also say in Berlin when I was there, but it's a different kind of masculine energy. But here in the States, it's like, I'm making X, Y, Z, and it's like they're doing it, but it still feels like this scarcity mindset, this like, I need to take care of myself because no one else is going to show up for me, and I don't want anyone to show up for me because it feels unsafe to let the masculine show up for me. And so I'm just like going. And you'll see it in their face, like they look more and more tired. They're not glowing, that feminine energy is not flowing through them. And so for me, the balance in the middle that I have come to, and it's an ongoing journey. I'm not saying that I'm complete, but I will say that it feels a lot better in my body, the way that I'm operating these days. And this is, I can support myself. I am self-sufficient. Not only can I support myself, I can create the lifestyle that I deserve, which is one of abundance and luxury and giving back to my local community and like helping the people who need help. Like abundance is, Bashar, someone who channels an alien, says that abundance is being able to do what you need to at any given moment with the resources that you have. So it doesn't necessarily mean material abundance, but I do think that material abundance is something that is beautiful and important. And for me, like having abundance means I'm going to be giving that abundance to other people that needs it. I'm going to be helping the next person up. And also, so having this abundance, being able to support myself, that's me and my masculine. And me and my feminine energy is being able to wake up this morning and cuddle with Sasha and then like lay in bed while he takes a work call and just read something spiritual that uplifts my spirits. Have a phone call with my friend Graham and be like, do I want to come down to San Diego this weekend? Yeah, that feels like a fuck yes in my body. And like, just like, not lazily, but like slowly go into my day, make my cup of tea, do my journaling, and still have my list of things that I'm going to get done today and my things that I want to share with you, which is like one of them is making this podcast because I love how much me putting this out. I always joke with people like, I feel like I'm just putting this out into the vortex. Like, is anyone listening? But if it helps one person feel more grounded in their body and feel more excited to go out and do the things that they're scared of and to release negative beliefs, then I feel like that is mission accomplished. So I'm sharing all of this with you because I think that there's a lot of rhetoric. There's a lot of back and forth online of like blaming men, blaming women. And I really believe that the fight is actually inside of us. And we need to realize that we are all connected. We are connected to the plants. We are nature. We're not connected to nature. We actually are nature. And we are connected to the masculine in our lives, the feminine in our lives. We have this inside of us. We have masculine and feminine energy inside of us. This is why anytime you see a reflection of something that's negative outside of you, this might sound esoteric, but it is something that needs to be healed inside of you. And if it's no longer something that needs to be healed inside of you and it gets reflected to you, and you don't have any sort of reaction, you have a negative, you have like a calm reaction, then that means it's actually healed. If you see something in the world that is upsetting you, that like the masculine does, then that is something where, like, okay, I want to give you a solid example so I stop being so esoteric, even though y'all know that I love that. Because my brain, my energy field is like, you guys, just so you know, I am like operating in a frequency where, yeah, there's a lot of things going on that is not in this 3D reality, but I'm going to ground myself. If you're attracting men into your life that are fuckboys, men that do not want to show up for you, men that want to use you, and this is something that is a reoccurring thing over and over again. I'm not blaming you that you're attracting these men into your life. I want to ask you, how do you internally associate, how do you connect internally with your own inner masculine? So like, are you allowing yourself to set boundaries? Are you allowing yourself to go after the things that make you excited about life? Like the things that you're really passionate about? Are you like, yes, I deserve this? And like, no, that's not a fuck yes for me. Please stay over there. Because that connection that you have with your inner masculine is going to be reflected in the men that you're attracting into your life. So I get a lot of people messaging me saying like, Brittnee, I don't know where you're finding all these amazing men because I don't have this in my reality. And what I want to say to you is I didn't used to have these kind of men in my life in the past. I used to have like, I mean, y'all, if you've been following me for a hot minute, you will know the last person I dated. And since my last breakup last year, that was a huge wake-up call for me of the standard of men that I would allow into my life. It is your standard. As the feminine, you set the standard. You allow your inner masculine to say, no, thank you. Next. Like, and you hold that standard because that's a frequency. And that is something not tangible in this 3D reality, but it's felt. So after my last breakup, I went into a mode of celibacy for a while, and I really looked at how I viewed men internally. And what I realized was that I needed to have better boundaries. I needed to hold my standard of the men that I wanted in my life. I had so many men I still was dating, but I wasn't allowing myself to have sex with anyone. And so there was a lot of men who were slowly getting into my field, and I would have my friends meet them, and I would like just kind of look at it as like a experiment of like the men that I was allowing into my field. And I was like, are these the men that deserve to be in my life? Like, is this my standard that I want to uphold? And what I realized was that I wasn't, okay, so let me just be real here. The men that were attracted into my life, they were very successful financially. They were not very emotionally developed. And their attunement to creating a beautiful world for me was not very much there. And I was like, what is going on here? Because I have this, and then I was like, okay, what is my connection to the inner masculine? And I was like, oh, these men remind me of my father. So my dad's very successful financially, not very emotionally mature, and he's a different generation, but still, it's like there wasn't so much attunement to creating a soft place for me to unfold. And I was a very sensitive child. I still am a very sensitive creature, but especially as a child, when you're like coming into the world, like from spirit, and you're like, what's going on? I really needed a lot of attunement. Some people would probably classify me as like a highly sensitive person. I don't really like labels, so whatever, take it however you want. But what I learned within myself was like, my inner masculine, one, needed to have better boundaries. So me just creating at that time like this kind of black and white, I'm just not sleeping with anyone, was really helpful for me. So that was like my first step in, and I would be very vocal with the men that I was dating. I was like, I just want you to know I'm in this celibacy phase, and so I was basically like, this is where I'm at. You can still choose to take me on a date or hang out with me if you want. totally fine if you don't want to. Like, this is also the inner masculine, is like setting your boundaries and allowing the chips to fall where they may, and just being really clear on your communication. And so that in itself was such a big deal for me, because in the past I would still like wait a while to make love with someone, but this was like a no, I'm just really allowing myself to focus on myself and holding these boundaries. And the second thing was like, I had to ask myself, like, if a man is in my life and is showing up in this, like, holding the container, protecting, providing for me, do I also have a standard that they are connected to their inner feminine? And that was the crutch of it. That was the most important part, was that I was attracting in men that reminded me a lot of my dad, where they were very in their masculine energy, but they themselves had not integrated their inner feminine. And then I had to look at myself and I was like, oh shit. Like, where is my relationship to my own inner feminine? And I was like, but I do operate in my feminine energy. And I was like, okay, but this is a dance between the masculine and the feminine energy inside of myself. Like, I was really like, when I'm in my feminine energy, I'm very flowy. I'm like barefoot, fancy free, taking my dog to waterfalls, like Afro and I just going everywhere on the island, dancing an aesthetic dance, like being naked on the beach, I'm like really flowing. But what I noticed is it wasn't a cohesive merging of my masculine and feminine. I would like go like black and white into one energy or the other. So I was super in my feminine, like almost to the point where I had no boundaries a lot of times when I was around these men that reminded me of my dad. And then when I was doing business stuff, I was super in my masculine, like, okay, we need to get things done. And I was very like rigid. I personally don't believe that this is healthy. And this is the work that I needed to do in the last year, was how do I allow my inner masculine to hold, without controlling, but like hold supportively, my inner feminine energy. And that was a really big journey for me. It was like, can I operate in the world where I am in integration of these two, not flipping from one to the other? And this is something I'm sharing with you because I hope that you can look at this and ask yourself, like, is your inner masculine holding your inner feminine? What does that even mean? So what that means is, like, when I was, having a moment where I was feeling very emotional, I was feeling like unsupported by the universe. I say that like ironically because we're always supported, and I know this deep in my bones and in my psyche. And at the same time, when your inner feminine is really strong, it can create this like pure chaos energy of like, I just want to destroy everything. I want everyone to feel how I'm feeling, and it sucks right now. So when I'm in those moments, am I able to allow my inner masculine energy to be like, yo, Brittnee, yes, this sucks right now. Okay, you can have your time where you go to the waterfall and you cry and you feel it all. And also, how are you going to show up in this situation where you're really honoring yourself and like really honoring your boundaries? And that was the work that I needed to do, was that I would allow this inner feminine to take over, and then it would be like pure chaos energy. And then I would just kind of run and hide from situations. And I remember sitting down with one of my best girlfriends on the Island Cat, and we were like at Indigo, which is like this coffee shop that we all hang out at. And I was like telling her, I'm like, I'm in this like really intense feminine energy where I'm just feeling like really upset about a lot of things. And she was like, I really honor this. She listened to me for a while. She hosted me, and she's like, but I really feel like you need to like do some, step back from everything for a minute and do some like cleanup work energetically with the people in your life. And this was me utilizing my masculine energy, sometimes to set boundaries, sometimes for clear communication, sometimes to mediate a situation. Some of this was personal stuff. Some of this was community stuff, because I'm leading the community there. Some of this was business things that I need to handle, and I was like putting off. And I looked at her, and my inner feminine wanted to take over and be like, no, I just want you to listen to my feelings. I just want to be in my feelings. But I was like, oh, this is the moment. This is the moment where I really need to let my integration happen. And so I really took what she said to heart, and I went home to my villa. I laid in my hammock, and I went through my phone, and I was like, anyone that I have weird energy with, things that I have not handled properly, things I have not closed out, just things where I need to set boundaries. I laid in my hammock for like over 3 hours and sent voice messages and, called people. And I really shared from my heart. Also, masculine energy is creating clear communication. It's like, this is where we stand. This is where I'm at. Let me know where you're at. Let's see what we can do together. And here are the clear boundaries of what I can offer. And I will tell you that after doing that, I felt so much more energy in my body. I felt like my feminine energy could actually unfold. I felt like so yummy and flowy because my inner masculine had supported my inner feminine. So in the past, what would happen is I would have this like build up. If you knew me earlier on, you would probably understand this about me. Like, really happy that I've gone past this level in the video game of life. But I would allow my inner feminine to build up to the point where I was like about to explode. And then I would have my inner masculine take over. And, I'm a Scorpio, I'm sun and moon in Scorpio. So I would allow this Scorpio, like masculine, like fire dragon energy. And that's the energy that I would communicate with people in. And a lot of times it would be very cold and very calculated, and it would be very to the point, but it wasn't calm. It wasn't grounded. It wasn't loving. And this was one of the first times where I had some really difficult conversations where I was like, honoring how I felt in my body. I was honoring my inner feminine energy and my inner feelings journey while being calm and grounded and kind and gentle, and allowing my inner masculine to be like, this really hurt my feelings, and I don't really like how the situation played out, and like this is what I need in my body if we're gonna still be in connection, or like, like these are the things that I've been going through, and I just want to let you know how I feel. And the replies that I got back from those 3 hours of calls and messaging and everything was so beautiful. It was like so much clear communication back, and so much like, wow, I really appreciate you, bringing this up. I've been wanting to talk about this. I didn't know how to bring it up, or thank you for finally answering me because I'd been like avoiding the conversation. And it was like, it was what they call in therapy a corrective experience. Like I was like, wow, I was able to show up in my integrated masculine and feminine energy, and it felt really good in my body. I was able to create clear containers of, these are my boundaries, and I was able to move forward in the 3D reality. Like we are spiritual creatures having a 3D experience here. So you can get all the downloads in the universe. You can do a million ayahuasca ceremonies. But the point is to be integrated, and to integrate that into your everyday reality to the point where you're creating beautiful things in the world, and like you're really connected to your body. You're really connected to your intuition. You're connected to your authentic self, and you're letting that authentic self shine, and you're following your joy. And the only thing that can come from that is beautiful things. And even the challenges that you have along the way. And I'm not saying, like, I definitely have hit a bunch of challenges since I've gotten to the States, with my family, my biological family, with finding a location for the play party, with just like being in the energy here. It's very heavy in America, the energy, like, like everyone's watching the news, everyone's watching what's happening with Trump, what's happening with Israel. Like there's so much intense energy. And what Sasha says a lot is like the energy of the San Francisco area is like this energy of like hopelessness. And, we both just feel like we're just like grounding in, like trying to keep this high vibration in amongst all of this chaos. And at the same time, I feel so connected to my body, and I feel so connected to my intuition. And my intuition is like, yeah, babe, you got to do this. You got to set up the foundation for you, because I'm going to go back to the island this high season and do the parties there and host the community. But you need to put on some roots in America, and you need to come back and build a community. And yeah, and I'm being very honest when I say that the energy of the feminine here is the reason why, like I say, like you don't learn there's nothing to learn anymore if you've moved beyond it when you have integrated it fully. And the reason why it is a little bit triggering for me is because it is my shadow side. It's what I used to operate in. And so when I see these women that are very in their masculine energy and they're just like, we have to do all these things, and like they're like cut off from their body, I just want to go hug them because I'm like, totally projecting onto them, like hashtag totally projecting, my old self, my past self, where I was like really disconnected from my body. I felt like I had to prove myself to everyone around me. I thought that my worth was in how much I could get done instead of like how much it felt good in my body to do things and, the journey along the way. So I definitely think that there is still more for me to integrate and to learn, and I will report back when I have more learnings. But in the meantime, I've been really flowing and going to the gym a lot and planning the next play party. And I think I'll go down to San Diego this weekend and go to a conscious festival that's happening down there with some friends from Burning Man, and then come back up and like spend a lot of time in nature in Nevada City with some more friends, and then go down to LA. So if you're going to be, first off, I want to just say play party, San Francisco, October 25th. That is the plan. And then if you're going to be in San Diego, San Francisco, LA in the next month, I probably will be popping through all these places because I can't help it. I love to travel and I love to bop around. So let me know. I'm always down to connect and to talk more about these things because we are co-creating this together. This is an inner journey of mine being reflected externally, and therefore I'm inviting in, your also your journey, and like how is it affecting you, and what questions is it questions is it prompting from you? Because a lot of these podcasts I make because someone writes me a question and I'm like, okay, I'm listening. Let me dive into my own psyche. Let me ask my friends. Let me research things. Okay, let me make a podcast. So I really feel like as a community, as a worldwide community, we are doing this together. We are waking up spiritually. We are dropping into our bodies. We're coming into full integration. And I really believe, this is something I always say to my friends, we can have so much fun doing this. Like it can feel so good in our bodies along the way. Because when you really come into like this certain vibration in your spiritual journey, what happens is the past and the future become very, very low relevance, and you just live fully in the moment. And on the island, on Koh Phangan, this is a really easy thing to do, but also because like almost every single day feels like the last, like the sun sets at the same time almost every day. There's this routine of like being deeply in nature and connected. And I find it beautiful that I've dropped into this vibration outside of the island, off the island, and I'm just like so fully present and so in the now that like I just decided today that in 2 days I'm going to go to San Diego, and I'm like looking at flights and booking things. And I'm like, what would it take for the world to operate more in this flow and this like being fully present in the moment? And I really believe that's the direction that we're going vibrationally. So I had a spiritual woman tell me, like a channeler tell me, like, I'm meant to, like, people ask me, what are you doing? To be like, I'm just flowing. Because that's really what I'm doing most of the time. And I think in the past I tried to like come up with a plan when in reality, like internally, I was like, I'm just flowing. So now I just tell people I'm just flowing and I'm figuring it out as I go and I'm having fun along the way. And they're like, you can do that? Like, I didn't know that was possible. I'm like, yep, this is my whole reality. And it's really fun. So yeah, sending you some of the vibrations. And I hope that you guys have a beautiful day, and I'll see you in the next podcast.